We will call the Monday, June 8th, 2020 board meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Halverson, would you please lead us?
Be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Hope. Thanks.
Deb Pauley,
Here.
Tom Vogel,
Here.
Sandy Burke,
Here.
Connie Hennon,
Here.
Lauren Pedersen,
She's running a little late. She'll be here.
Rob Langheim,
Here.
Ryan Dainert.
Here.
Okay, consideration of agenda. We had some late items added, some contracts that got signed and turned in, so they were added late this afternoon. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Motion
This is
to approve.
Sandy, so moved.
Sandy, Tom, I'll give you
Second.
the second. Okay. Discussion? Anybody want to pull anything from consent? Okay. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley,
Yes.
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Sandy Burke,
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Rob Langheim,
Yes.
Ryan Dainert.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, no, there's no public comment, so we have some special recognitions tonight. We have 4 people that are retiring from the district. And so the first one we're gonna recognize is Kim Fuller.
Yeah, so Kim, just a quick story about Kim, and I probably got to leave out some names, but Kim's a character, for those of you who don't know Kim. I've known Kim for a long time. She was at the elementary school when I started teaching back in 2000, and Kim was just well known as sort of being that class clown. And not only that, she cared so deeply about those kids, and was very dedicated to our school district. So it's a big loss, but we wish Kim certainly a happy retirement and best wishes in enjoying that lake, which I believe is where they are today. So thank you to Kim.
Yes. And Kim, in honor of your retirement, we have this memento from the board for you, and we'll get it to you. Next, we have Joy Allen.
Likewise, Joy has been a longtime para at our high school, and I know that Joy was always assigned those math and sciences because she is super smart and just great with helping kids with some of those tough areas, tough subjects. So she had a lot of patience, worked really well with kids, and likewise, she's also enjoying her newfound retirement and lake life. I did see her the other day on a walk, and I said, well, how is it? And she said, it's the best. So congratulations to Joy.
And Joy, we also have a plaque for you. So, and actually, I realized that you came about the same time Matt did in 2013. So, thank you. Next, we have Kathy Dunham.
Kathy also has been an employee. She's been at multiple buildings in our district. She served as our middle school nurse for a number of years, and then most recently bumped over to our high school when we had some higher needs population move to our high school. But Kathy also is a character. Those of you who know her, she's funny. She's witty. She's just sort of got that sense of humor that make her fun to be around. So it's a big loss to lose a nurse, especially during these times with COVID-19. But we know that Kathy's ready to enjoy that retirement as well. So congratulations to Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. And then we have Joanne Westfall, who's been with us since 1999.
Oh, Joanne, I think you're joining us, right? Are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
Well, Joanne, we have that personal connection because we shared the high school media center for a year during the construction of the middle school. So you were my roommate for about a year. So got to know you there and know that you also care deeply about the kids and about serving the high school media center. Certainly no computer stayed lost for long, or no book stayed lost for long with Joanne on the job. She would track it down and have it back within the next couple hours. So Joanne, congratulations on your retirement, and well deserved. Thank you for serving the students at Jordan High School and our entire district so well.
You're welcome. It was an honor to be a part of the school district and work with the students.
Thank you, Joanne. And we have a plaque in memory, or in honor of your years here, so that we will get that to you, okay?
Thank you, Deborah.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yep. Have a good night.
Thanks for being a good roommate.
I remember when you put vinegar in your coffee maker, and then you had vinegar coffee.
That's right. It didn't taste very good.
All right, good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Joanne. And then we have one very special person that we want to recognize tonight, our wonderful superintendent, who served here in the district from August of 2000 through June of 2006, teaching, and then came back to us as our wonderful superintendent in July of 13. And so there are no words to say thank you for everything you've done
Thank you.
for the district, and it's been a ride, and it's been wonderful. Thank
It
you.
has. Thank you. Thanks for this honor. Certainly very much appreciated. I am retiring from school from teaching and administrating. So I appreciate the honor. It's been a pleasure to serve the district and the students, to work beside an amazing school board. You've been supportive. You've had our back, and I know that's been said many times as administrators when we've tried some new things. I've had just a tremendous team to work with, 3 of them who are sitting back here. I've been very fortunate to hire a majority of the team, and I've got another teammate over there who also had an opportunity to hire. So 2 of the 4 of them I've been able to hire, and all the principals. And go right down the line. I won't name them all, but it's been, most superintendents don't get an opportunity to basically pick their teammates, and I've been very fortunate to do that. I think it goes without saying that they're tremendous, and let's be honest, a lot of the reason why we've been successful is because of them. I've been just very fortunate. I think there's a saying that leaders are as good as their teammates, and they made me look really good. So I appreciate the honor, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve. I appreciate the opportunity to work alongside some amazing people, school board members. It has been a great ride. We did a lot of great things.
Matt, I'm grateful. I'm pretty close to a Jordanite lifer, and for taking Jordan to show Jordan what its potential is. I guess that's the biggest thing I would say. When you came in, I think a lot of people, that you came in with some ideas that might have been too big for what people thought was too big for Jordan. and we heard people say that, and then they got implemented, and people go, wow, we can be that. And so I think really that to me is the most important thing, is that you just had this vision for Jordan that and you gathered people and got them on that vision and brought them along. And Jordan, it wouldn't be where it is now today without you. So I appreciate that.
I would echo that. Haven't had a real long time to work with you, but I've watched you from a distance for your entire time here, basically mirrored my kids' time entering the school. So thank you for what you've done. And I think, oftentimes a leader's legacy is, what happens after you leave. And I think that you have a strong team in place. And I think that we'll see things continue to progress. And I think you'll be able to be proud for years to come. So thank you.
I can't hear.
I'm sorry. Matt, you're going to be a tough act to follow. You have made living in Jordan great. As a school district, with your leadership team, I understand it's not just you, but you have a vision, and you have such an amazing vision, and the ability to implement what your vision is, that you just amaze me. You impress me, and I'm so sorry that you are leaving, but I'm so happy for you for your next opportunity. So I want to wish you a lot of luck in your next opportunity, but you will be missed.
Yeah, so kind of building on what everyone has said, I think, kind of one of the true signs of leadership and impact are looking at a place when you first got here and then looking at it when you're leaving. And this district, in some regards, is unrecognizable from what it was 7 years ago. And I just kind of remember, my journey of having a discussion with my wife, who grew up here and was a part of the district, and trying to convince me to come back and raise a family here. And, kind of looking around and what are some of the different things that we could do, what did the district, kind of have to offer. What are my kids going to do during the winter when they're, tearing the house, the walls down of the house, and that there was only 2 days of, River Valley open gym time, and that was it. That's all kind of what we had, and going from a pretty, kind of dilapidated middle school to kind of a renovated, very, very forward-looking building, to some of the new teaching models that you've implemented, the embracing of technology, the development of some of the fields that we have, most notably the football field. This place has made gigantic strides, and we have a lot of really talented and great people and really good assets that you wouldn't think a town of this size has. And so, and it's about, kind of the leadership and the people that are around you and getting you to be able to create a vision, but not only that, but being able to actualize that vision when you're up against a lot of resistance and people that not necessarily know kind of what you're talking about, or a little bit resistance to change, and you've, kind of felt that or addressed that at every kind of step. And so, the impact that you've made, we will see it for years and decades to come. We're incredibly appreciative of your leadership during your tenure. You've left us in a really good spot, and for the next set of people, a really good springboard to make this district and community even better than it is right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sandy? Sandy?
Oh, I'm sorry. Deb and Lauren, can you move your microphones a little bit closer or something? Because I'm having a really hard time hearing. I don't know if everybody else is, but I think a few of us are. So anyway, okay, so Matt, I wrote stuff down because I'm not sure I'm going to get through this without crying. And no, I'm not right now. I don't even know what to say. This is really hard. But I did enough of crying when you first told me that you were leaving. When you first came on board, we were in really desperate need of a leader. You quickly showed us that you were definitely going to be one. Things started moving quickly, which they needed to, And you were the main reason why our referendum to renovate the middle school and build the circ passed. I know that you said that you have a really good team, and you do. There's no question. But you were the main reason. You put in countless hours in meeting with groups and individuals, and I know that the referendum, in addition to every other part of your job, made you be away from your family for many, many long days and nights. We all really appreciate how hard you have worked for our district. On a personal note, I know I happen to be a night owl, and I happen to know that you are as well. And how I know this is I would often be up late reading something and shoot an idea or an article off to you, and sometimes it was even after midnight, and you would most often respond within a few minutes. I never meant for you to do that. I really just wanted to make sure I didn't forget to send it off to you. One night in particular, during the negative 30-degree temps at the end of January in 2019, we got into a conversation, and you shared that you had started composing a school closing song for when the schools were closing, to the tune of Bohemian Rhapsody. And you shared what you had started. And I immediately jumped in and started adding to that, and we started sharing screenshots of what we had both done. And that was at a time when a lot of superintendents were doing that across the country. They were doing creative school closings, and they were going viral. And I think if we had the opportunity to complete the song, it would have gone viral too. But now we will never know, unfortunately. I do have a copy of what we have in front of me, just so you know. I know I've talked for a long time, but I wanted to share some of the fun things about you that I will miss, in addition to the loss of an amazing professional colleague. I'm wearing the Power of We shirt that we wore for homecoming one year because I feel this truly exemplifies your mantra in the district. It's the power of we, not I, and it's all about the kids. That's what you've done from the beginning. It's all about the kids, what's best for kids. You will truly be missed, and I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. I am glad you will be able to be a dad at various events and get to actually enjoy watching your kids play and compete. I look forward to seeing you there. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you have done for the district. We are a much better district because of you, and I will miss you tremendously.
Thank you.
Connie?
Matt, I remember in one of the interview questions when I was sitting in on your interviews, someone asked about how you see yourself as a part of Jordan. And you said, I will move my family here and I will be part of Jordan. And you moved in and you opened your arms the same way Jordan did. And there was an embrace, and that embrace was strong. I'll miss having you sneak in the auditorium, that one row of seats, and sit next to me. I'll miss you scooting in halfway through one of the basketball or volleyball games next to John Brimehorst and listening about the world problems. But I too, like Sandy, would tuck my dad in at Oak Terrace and drive past and pray and say, Matt, go home. The light was still on in your office. Many times I'd pray, Matt, go home. It's 9:30, time to go home. And those tireless hours didn't go unnoticed, especially by the board and the community and by the other staff members, because you were always prepared. And I never once didn't get a return phone call from you, no matter what my question was or no matter what was going on. You always took time to listen or re-explain, this is why we do it this way, so that I could understand. And I am greatly appreciative of that. So God bless you. Enjoy time with your family. Go fishing. Enjoy time with your mom and dad. That's something that's important too. So God bless you. Good luck in whatever you do.
Thank you.
And we're just glad you're still going to be here. That you're not going anywhere. So in appreciation, we have this surprise.
Oh my gosh, look at me in
You
that.
gotta pass that. Holy smokes.
And like I shared,
You
the
look like a teenager there. Oh my goodness.
Can somebody take a picture of that so we can see it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was when you were a teacher here? Oh, it's awesome.
How old are you there?
24.
Yeah, 20, 25, 26, somewhere in there.
Where do I go?
Wow.
Was that in 2000?
No, that's probably 24.
You're
Yeah.
24.
Yeah. Okay, I will do that. Okay. And we're gonna celebrate, the board is gonna celebrate with Matt. We'll talk about that later. Okay.
Geez, I put on a few pounds.
It's a great picture.
It
It's fun.
is.
Okay, the next item, so God bless you, Matt.
Thank you.
For everything. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have South Central Service Cooperative. We have Ed Waltman with us, and he is going to present South Central Service Cooperative's superintendent search information. So Ed, if you're on with us.
I am on with you. Good evening, Jordan, school board members, Superintendent Helgerson, and staff members. Thank you for this opportunity for us to share information about your South Central Service Superintendent Search Program. I'd like to refer you to the materials that we sent. I'm going to start where I usually end because Chair Pauly has given me a definite timeline of 15 minutes. The first item should be reasons for contracting with the South Central Service Cooperative for your superintendent search. Item number one is the two consultants that would be working with you on this search process. Harold Remy is the retired superintendent from New Ulm, was there many, many years. I'd be the other main consultant. I was an administrator in the Mankato School District for 35 years, the last 12 as superintendent. This is my 12th year with the South Central Service Cooperative as a special consultant to our member districts, superintendents, and school boards. It's been a great pleasure for me to serve in this role. Harold and I both understand the culture of the schools in our region. We do have 34 member school districts. We only do searches for our member school districts. We are embedded with our administrative teams, with our superintendents, with our school boards, and once you use us, we're always with you. I think that's a great advantage over some of the other firms that you might use. The second item talks about recruiting and screening candidates. Both Harold and I have been longtime members of the Superintendent Association. We both continue to be on the Superintendent Association Foundation boards of directors. As part of our role with the Service Cooperative, we attend all the Region 2 superintendent meetings. We're in charge of leadership programs for our superintendents and school boards as well, so we have a lot of contact. But when it comes to recruiting candidates, the best recruitment is for me to show what I just witnessed a few minutes ago, how you work together, how you celebrated Matt's and others' career. That's what's important. The candidates are looking for a certain size school district. They're looking for location. They're looking for school districts that have quality facilities. Matt has given me a tour of your new facilities and what you've accomplished. It's outstanding. And the last one, and probably the most important, is board relations. I just saw how you work together with this recognition. Those things are all going to be the best recruiting tools that any consulting firm could use to attract candidates to your school district. Item number 3 in that item is the detail of our search process. We spend a lot of time, we do 3 or 4 searches all in a year for our member district. We will spend a lot of time, and our core value is the more people that are involved in the search process, with the understanding that the school board is going to make the final decision, the more successful the new superintendent's going to be. And I will explain examples of what I mean with that in a few minutes. Item number 4 is the support staff from our South Central Service. We have public information staff. We have excellent clerical staff. We can get contracted legal advice if we need it, even though we've done 35 searches so far for our member districts. And I don't want to jinx myself, but we've never needed legal advice. And then a new one that I don't have on there is we have a great tech staff. We've done just recently 3 searches. 2 of them had to be totally virtual, and 1 was half virtual, and our tech staff was great help as long as the staff of the school district. Number 5, not all consulting firms provide this service. Negotiation of the superintendent contract. I'm very up on what the state MSBA and MASA contract looks like, and I serve as a partial mediator when you do enter into a contract with a new superintendent. And that we've gotten a lot of, we do a feedback survey when we do a search with our school boards, and that's come back with very high praise to have that service, because everybody gets off to a good start, and we can still ask the hard questions though when we're negotiating the contract. A mentoring of the new superintendent. We provide intensive mentoring to our superintendents in the region. As I mentioned, we're in many meetings with them, but we purposely set up 1 month check-ins with our superintendents that we place. We take phone calls at any time of the night, and I can tell you, I know Matt was up early or late at night, right, Matt, sometimes? And we had good discussions.
That's right.
He's smiling, I hope, and not mad at me. And finally, our board is made up of mostly school board members like yourself. And 12 years ago, we had the last economic downturn, and that's when they brought me on to enhance our services. We're an entrepreneurial government agency with a school district number. We've been successful. Our board wanted to reinvest into our school district, and they came up with the idea, because particularly our small school district cannot afford the $7,000 to $15,000 it takes to hire a consulting firm. So that's why we started this program. There's virtually no cost to you. All we ask is reimbursement of the supplies that we provide to you. That's copies and booklets. It's estimated to be about $100. Moving on to the next sheet in your packet is the list of our search team members. I won't go through that. There's also a list of references. And if you haven't checked our references yet, we just did Waseca. They're a very similar sized school district to yours. And you should feel free, particularly to contact Dr. Julie Anderson, their board chair, to talk about how the program went. We also recently did the Nicollet School District and the GFW School District. Gary Kopp is the board chair at Nicollet, and GFW board chair is Phil Klink. They would also be good references, and I do have those numbers. But we also have other numbers for you to call. I just listed samples of the searches that we've done on the site. As I mentioned, we've done about 35 searches over the last 10 years. The next sheet in your packet is the shared services agreement. If you decide to go with us, your board would need to approve this agreement, and there is no cost other than estimated about $100 for the materials. We're actually recycling the booklet, so we're not even charging $100 anymore if you do it. But you want to make sure you have a consulting firm that you feel comfortable with. This is such an important search, and we understand that. The next item is if you do decide to use our service, we will want to have a board session with you of about a half hour. And the items that will be discussed are on page 1 of the next sheet. And I'm going to go through this not now, but individually. Page 2 is the first item that we review with you. The components of our search process are at the bottom of that page. There are 9 components. The first one is to have a meeting with you. The second one's to create a calendar. The third one is really important there. We do tremendous work with creating a profile of attributes for the new superintendent. Both consultants would come to your school district for at least 2 full days, if we can do on-site at that time, to meet with each building. We would meet with your staff in each building. We would meet with each one of you individually. We would meet, I know you have a commercial club. My son was involved in that, and I think he still is. He does work in Jordan a lot. We would want to meet with those. If you have a pastoral association, parent-teacher organizations, we would meet with them. But the other thing we do is we have an online survey that we've created. And in Waseca, I think we had 250 responses to that survey. We tabulate all those results, and that helps us provide a recommendation to you for a profile of attributes, of 10 to 12 attributes that the new superintendent should possess. We use that as our common language. Anyone, you'll see later, we have groups that are going to give you feedback if you use our system. All of it comes back to those attributes, and when they communicate to you, they are showing how they should use those attributes to say yay or nay to a particular candidate. And it also helps when we have you, the 7 board members, at the end make that tough decision, because I think you're just going to have excellent candidates, because you have positioned yourself very well. It becomes almost more hard when you have those excellence candidates to make a decision, but having that profile and those attributes allows us a great tool to separate each candidate from one another. We recruit the candidates. We have an online application system at the Service Cooperative. They apply to us. We will screen the applicants, do the vetting of them. We're very thorough at that. You should know that you as a school board can't meet as a group because of data privacy to go through candidate applications and select the candidates for interviews. So usually the process is to turn that job over to the search consultants. You could have a smaller group that wouldn't be considered a quorum if you wanted to, but we recommend you let the search consultants make a recommendation to you on who's going to be interviewed. However, we will bring all the candidate applications to your building, and you will be individually allowed to look at everyone that has applied for a position. By state law, that's all data private information. You cannot share that with anyone else. The next item is the assist the school district in the interview process. I will go through that in just a minute and meet with the facilitate the decision on a new superintendent contract and provide mentoring. We'll move on to the next page, and I hope I'm doing all right on time, Deb. Don't give me the buzzer yet.
You're fine, Ed.
The next page is a draft calendar. As I understand it, you want to consider doing the search in the fall of this year. So I just put together a rough draft, but we would need to refine that draft in a meeting with you as we finalize the details of your search. But it would start in October with the posting. We'd actually start in September and October doing the community engagement piece, and then on December 14th at your board meeting there. I did share with your board chair that I'm concerned about your schedule, and there's a number of reasons for that. I think a lot of the superintendent candidates that you want to have are usually very dedicated to the school district that they're in. They're usually not thinking about switching jobs in September and October and November. It's a busy time for them in their current school districts, and they're usually not thinking about doing that. The other thing we've seen is that COVID-19 has made a difference in the candidate pool, as well as people are thinking, well, it's really not a good time for me to uproot my family, make this important type of change. So then the final thing is probably the biggest reasons why we have concerns. As I understand it, you have a school board election in the fall. We really think usually it's best for the new school board, because the new candidate's going to come on under the new school board. If there are changes, school board members that weren't involved in the process may not take ownership in the new superintendent, and that can sometimes cause problems. But we will do any schedule that you want to do. I just did want to share that those comments with you about the proposed schedule. But if you want to do it in the fall, you would be our leaders, and we would do the schedule that we would put together with you to have it done by December. Page 4, I'm not going to go through. It's just a sample schedule that we refine is actually the dates of when things would happen. We would need to do that. Page 5 is the finalist interview schedule. You will probably have 6 to 8 candidates in the first round of interviews because of the, as I mentioned, the very positive stature of your school district. We should have at least 6 to 8 very high quality. We would want to narrow that down to 2 or 3 candidates. And what our process is to bring in one candidate on each day, a separate day. And from 1 o'clock to 2:40, Matt would give them a tour. Oh, Matt won't be here. Your interim superintendent would give that candidate a tour of your buildings and facilities. After that, the candidate would meet with your administrative team. Then from 4 to 5, we've had great success with the community meetings. We might have to do it virtually, but we could still do it. But I think Sandy and Deb are the only 2 board members who were on the last time. You may remember what happens is we ask the candidate to introduce themselves to any community member that would like to come in your auditorium and ask questions. Harold and I would be there to facilitate in case they try to ask a question that you can't ask. But it's a great opportunity for you to sit in the back and witness how your new superintendent would handle a large group setting. We usually get 100 to 150 people at those types of meetings, and it's a real life experience to see how them function in that atmosphere. Then there'd be a dinner with the school board that's open to the public. They can watch you eat, but it's always, most people don't come to that. The media may come, that's fine, but it's a chance for you to have a more informal discussion with the candidate. And usually on that date, if the candidate has a spouse, we invite them to come to the district as well to get a tour and to be a part of the process. Then finally, there's a 1-hour final interview with the school board when that's done. And then after that, if you have 2 days or 3 days, on that third day or the second day, after the final candidate is done, we will lead you through a process to come to a conclusion to offer a contract to a candidate. And we like that process to be 7-0, or in your case, some cases it's 6-0. We've done 35 searches and they've all been 7-0 or 6-0, but sometimes it takes us till 1:30 in the morning. So, but we will get there. We think that's important to have the new superintendent start out with the unanimous support of the school board. The next page is the questions that are put out in the survey as we develop the profile. We ask what are the strengths of the school district, what are the challenges, what needs to be done to improve academic achievement, and what are the new traits. Then we ask people to check what group they might be in. As I mentioned, we will tabulate that. You'll get about a 20-some page profile report. And the last page will be a recommendation on the 10 to 12 attributes that the new superintendent should possess to be successful in the Jordan School District. And once we'll actually take action on those attributes, and you'll see that that is used constantly during the process. And it really helps speed up a lot of decision making to have that common language. The next sheet, page 7, is for the semifinal interviews. You'll be interviewing those candidates. We recommend that you have a community committee also interview candidates. So you bring in 2 candidates each hour, one with the community committee, one with the board, and then you flip-flop. We recommend that you have a teacher from each of your school buildings and plus one teaching specialist. We recommend they be appointed by the Teacher Association. 1 or 2 administrators are appointed by the board. You do not need more administrators because the administrators are all going to get a chance to give you feedback because they will be meeting with the candidates on that final interview process, if you remember the schedule that I showed you. Then 4 to 6 community members chosen by the board. Those would be maybe some people from the business community, the commercial club, your parent-teacher organization, if you have a pastoral association, and those people would then interview at the same time, and they provide you feedback on a sheet. If you go to page 9 in that packet, there's the candidate feedback form that they would provide you. They would list the candidate's strengths by using the profile language. They would list concerns for that candidate using the profile language. Then they can make other comments. Then at the bottom, they individually checks a box. The community committee does not discuss candidates as a group. It's all individual feedback. The only thing that we ask you to do is wait to have any deliberation on who the finalists are going to be until you get the community committee feedback. And the last sheet is just one that we use to help you when it comes time to negotiate a contract. We will do a salary survey of like-sized school districts in your conference and in your region. Now, your conference is really spread out between big and small districts, so it'd be more size school districts, and that would help us come within a range of salary that we need to attract a new superintendent. I believe my time is up, and with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I'll open it up to questions for Ed.
Hi, Ed. Thank you so much. This is Rob Langheim. Question about the timing. So understand the fees if we started in the fall. Are the fees the same if we started at the beginning of the year or next year?
Yes, it'd be the same. The only thing that what I'd recommend that we do in the fall, let's do the profile work in the fall. We can really dig into the profile work and really do a good job with meeting with people and doing that superintendent attributes. So that work would be done. Then I would say we'd post the position in December, receive applications to the end of January. You're going to be right in the front line of most superintendent searches if we go with that schedule. Interview in early February. You'd be done with the process by the end of February.
Great, thank you.
Ed, I think there was maybe some concern that because we're part of the South Central Service Cooperative, that our pool would be mainly local, but can you talk about that? Because I believe the last time we had candidates from Alaska and all over the country.
Right, but what we find in Minnesota, because you have to be licensed in Minnesota, there's very few candidates from outstate that are technically licensed. The candidates that we see, we had a candidate from Wyoming and one from Iowa for the Waseca search. Both former Minnesotans that wanted to come back and got their licensure. And they were excellent candidates. So they didn't get the position. We will see mostly candidates like that. You can advertise nationally, but it's very expensive to do that, and I don't think it's worth it to you. We will post the position with MASA, with MSBA, and with the state colleges and universities. And I tell you, you will get good candidates because you have positioned yourself to get good candidates. But most of them will not be out of state unless they have a reason to come back.
Other questions for Ed? Connie or Sandy, questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Ed. If we have questions, we will reach out to you, and I'll, let the board members know that they certainly can reach out to you also with questions. But we appreciate your presentation and your time, and most importantly, thank you for bringing this guy to us 7 years ago.
You're welcome, and Matt, best wishes to you. I sure enjoyed working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks, Ed.
And I love
Yep.
working with your son on
Yeah,
commercial
thank you.
club stuff. Take care, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Barb in? Okay. This one. Or do I have yours? Oh, you have one. I think that was from before, wasn't it?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. We still waiting for Barb? Okay.
Just in case other people don't know, I apologize. I'm going to leave at 7 o'clock for a family gathering. So I just wanted to apologize that I might need to leave midstream if that's the case.
Okay, we'll be in touch, Sandy.
Thank you.
There's Barb.
Thank you.
Barb's in? Okay. Next, we have Barb Dorn, who represents Minnesota School Boards Association. Thank you for being with us tonight, Barb, and sorry for the delay. And I'll turn it over to you. Your mic is muted. There we go.
Okay, how's that? Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to visit with you tonight. My name is Barb Dorn. I am the Director of Leadership Development and Executive Search at the Minnesota School Boards Association. So thank you for inviting us to visit with you tonight. I know we're hoping to keep this to about 15 minutes, so I'm going to make a note to keep my eye on it. Put my post-it note right up here. Whoop. Can you still hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I can't see you. Where did you go? There we go. I'm sorry. One thing real briefly before I start, I do want to thank you as school board members for all of the work that you're putting in right now. It's very trying circumstances, and I know how hard you're working to do what's best for your students. So thank you for all that you've been doing and continue to do on behalf of all of us here at MSBA. So there's 3 things that I would like to cover tonight in my 15 minutes. The first is a broad overview of 3 basic steps in superintendent search. The second is to specifically call out a couple of things in MSBA's proposal, which I'm assuming you have in front of you. I know that I emailed it, and I'm assuming you have a copy.
Yes.
And then lastly, I'd like to spend maybe the remaining 5 minutes or so on questions that you might have, either from my presentation tonight or from the proposal. So if that sounds good, those are the 3 big things I'd like to accomplish before 7 o'clock here. Okay? All right, first of all, 3 basic steps to a superintendent search. There's really 3 components to any search. It's 1, to have a hiring plan, 2, to follow your plan, and 3, to have a post-hiring plan. So I'll talk real briefly about each of those. Now, as far as having a hiring plan, the first thing there is to decide your approach. Are you going to conduct it internally yourself and use your school district resources, or are you going to look outside for some assistance? Based on who you're visiting with this evening, you may be leaning in the direction of bringing in outside help, but I know you have not decided that yet. But that's generally the first decision that a board makes, is which direction are we going to go in terms of approaching the search. Once you've decided that, you have some big decisions to make. During the planning phase, you need to establish a timeline. And what we proposed in here, based on conversations with the district, is a search beginning in early October and concluding by the end of December. So a 3-month search. In that 3-month period, early on, you need to identify specific dates for specific activities and lock those in on your calendar. Having everything laid out in advance makes everything run much more smoothly. So the timeline is really foundational to the entire search process. You also want to, early on, think through all of the stakeholder involvement. Who are you going to get feedback from? How are they going to be involved? And when are you going to visit with them? Will you do an online survey, for example, regarding qualifications for the candidates? What would people be looking for from different stakeholder groups? Will you conduct listening sessions? And if so, how many and with whom? Also, will you have input forums to participate in the second round of interviews? And what questions may they ask of the candidates? So determining stakeholder involvement early on is also really critical to a successful search. You'll also want to look at your hiring criteria. One of the things I always say is, just because someone is an excellent superintendent, maybe in a neighboring district, it doesn't mean that they're the best leader for Jordan Public Schools. We'll walk you through identifying, in terms of hiring criteria, what really rises to the top. What qualifications, what skills, what background are you looking for in a superintendent? What are your needs and wants as a district educationally? So creating the hiring criteria is also extremely important. And then finally, how are you going to present the opportunity to be superintendent at Jordan Public Schools? What makes you so special? You know, I was in marketing for a very long time in a previous life, and we'll work with the district to create your vacancy announcement, to really entice people to want to throw their hat in the ring for your opportunity. So differentiation of the opportunity is super important to attract a quality pool of candidates. So those are just some of the things early on in terms of a hiring plan that we recommend you do. When it comes to following your plan, that's the bulk of what that 3-month process really is going to be. We always say, just trust the process. You will have a lot of activity going on in that time. It can be overwhelming at times, but don't get distracted and don't second guess yourself. Just trust the process. You also have to be very careful as a board to adhere to all Minnesota state statutes regarding the Open Meeting Law and the Data Practices Act. And it is a balancing act. You have to, on one hand, really balance the transparency requirements of the open meeting law with the privacy requirements for your candidates according to data practices. So marrying those 2 things together and ensuring that your board follows the legalities that are required in a superintendent search, is one of the things that MSBA does extremely well. So again, during this process, when all of that is happening, just trust the process. It's a good process. We're really proud of it. Finally, the third step is to have a post-hiring plan. Having a successful search doesn't stop when you hire someone. You really want to clarify expectations for both the board and the superintendent, particularly during the first year. And that's one of the things that you will have seen in our proposal is MSBA will return and do a post-hiring workshop with you and your new superintendent to set expectations and how you're going to evaluate their success. We also want to ensure the stakeholders are a part of that onboarding process. Are they going to be introduced to the new superintendent? And if so, how? How are they going to be engaged in having this person begin work in your district? And you have to also monitor your plan activities throughout that whole year. And adjustments might need to be made. Things change, as you have seen. Things change very quickly in the educational arena right now. So during that person's first year, that post-hiring plan may need to be flexible. But those are the three big pieces. And I'm on about 5 minutes, so I'm doing okay. I'd like you to now pull out the proposal, if you would. And I want to highlight just a couple of things in that proposal. I won't go over everything because I know that you have seen this and you'll have the opportunity to review it again. But at the bottom of page 1, for example, there are some testimonials from MSBA clients. And the one I'd like to just mention briefly is the second, where it talks about the fact that MSBA has a vested interest in the success of your superintendent search. As all of you know, as a membership organization, our mission is nothing but to support, promote, and strengthen the work of school boards across the state of Minnesota. We see superintendent search as a natural extension of that mission to support your work, specifically around helping you find the best fit for a superintendent. So our relationship doesn't end when you have found the right person. Because we are MSBA, we will be there in the long term and available always to assist you if things do crop up in terms of the search. Pages 2 through 5, I'm not going to go over. That just offers you some more information on the search process. On page 6, I'll just point out the follow-up paragraph. That does touch on that post-hiring workshop where we come back into the district and work with you and your new superintendent to make sure that first year is successful. All right, page 7 is a lot of detail. I will not go through that, but that outlines our search services, and I'm happy to answer any questions on that specifically. But that spells out what we would do as part of the search process. Our fee is on the top of page 8. And one thing that I want to mention, I'm going to pull this out. I sent this in the email to Chairman Pauly. But the hiring workshop to hire the right superintendent, there was an overview that kind of looked like this. There we go. This is something that many school districts find useful. It is a workshop with your school board, and it includes this booklet on how to find the right superintendent. It covers a lot in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. This is often something districts choose to do before they've made a decision how to proceed with their search. It answers any and all questions they may have, whether they choose to work with MSBA or not on the search itself. But that workshop is $975. If you choose to bring us in to conduct the search as well, then that entire cost is credited toward the total fee. So it does reduce the fee by $975. So if you have questions on that, let me know. But it is a very good workshop, and we will take as long as it takes to answer your questions. Most of them are about an hour and a half to 2 hours. We've had some that go 3 hours because the boards just have so many questions about the process. All right, so I'm going to skip page 9 and go to page 10 for a moment. That's the timeline that we're proposing, and you can see that it's tentative. You have to identify a much more specific timeline with dates and times of meetings, because these are special meetings usually early in the process. But this is the overall timeline. Behind this, there's a lot more information. You'll see resumes of the search team, staff at MSBA who will be working on the search, as well as our service providers. And if you look through there, you will see literally hundreds of years of experience from our service providers. Most of them are superintendents that have stepped aside to work as consultants or interim superintendents, but we have an excellent, excellent bench of people who truly understand the role of a superintendent. Also in there, you'll find a client list for MSBA, as well as a note about our involvement in the National Association of Superintendent Searchers. So coming back to page 9, I'm okay on time. I really want to close my part of the presentation with why MSBA. And right there, I think it says the things that I think set us apart, and I'd like to just close with. I think our process, our knowledge, our reputation, and our partnership with school districts across the state of Minnesota truly make our search services something special. And one of the things that I have learned is that executive search is both an art and a science. Depending upon where you're at in the process, you may need to be an artist, you may need to also be a scientist, and MSBA is truly good at both of those parts of the process. So with that, I know I spoke really quickly, so I hope you're able to keep up, but we have about 4 or 5 minutes left. So I'm just going to open it up for questions from any of you, either on what I had to say tonight or on what you have read in the proposal. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay. I'll open it up to questions.
Barb, hi. Rob Langheim. So in terms of the proposed timeline of starting kind of in the October, wrapping up in the December timeframe, with all of the events that are going on right now, with the uncertainties of the fall schedule, what is your thoughts related to getting high caliber candidates during the fall versus potentially kind of start of the next calendar year?
I think that's a very good question. Thank you for asking it. People who are looking to move on to a new position will know it by the fall. I think the fact that you'll have a couple months of school under your belt before the deadline for the applications will pass. There are folks who already know that they're going to put one more year in at their current position and then they want to move on to something different for whatever reason. I think the caliber of candidates will be just as strong in the fall as it would in the spring. It is a little bit earlier. Usually most of the activity does occur January, February, as far as people looking for opportunities and throwing their hat in the rings. But we have had plenty of people that want to know earlier rather than later where they're going to be working on July 1st of 2021. So I still think you'd have a very strong pool. There may be quite a few superintendents this year that decide for whatever reason, whether it's the change in the educational structure or the curriculum or the distance learning challenges or the mental health issues people are facing, they may decide the superintendency is not for them anymore. We don't know that yet, but we've heard some people contemplating, I may just step down after 1 year. That will mean that there'll be more positions open. And so if that comes to fruition and there are more positions open beginning in the fall, but especially through the winter, I think it might be wise to get a jump on the candidates so that you have someone locked in and signed to a contract before it gets really, really potentially crazy in the winter time. Did that answer your question all right?
It did, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Barb, this is Ryan Daynert. How frequently do searches have internal and external candidates, and are there differences in your approach or in the process with an internal candidate versus a search that has no internal candidates?
Okay, great question again. I'd say about 10 to 20% of our searches have internal candidates, and our process does not change whatsoever. One of the tenets of the workshop that we would go through is that internal candidates need to be treated exactly the same as external candidates. You have to ensure a fair process for all. That includes things such as thinking through any bias you may have toward or against an internal candidate. That'll be part of the training that we go through with our interview preparation. You may not recognize it, but you might already be rooting for an internal candidate, or you may have already decided that no, that person's not good. So you have to let that whole process play out as far as your openness to candidates, whether they're internal or external. It's also very, very important that the Data Practices Act be applied to internal candidates just as it is to external. Now, if you have an internal candidate or 2 or 3, their names are private, completely private, until you may select them to be interviewed. So if someone who works for you currently has a superintendent license and they decide to give it a shot, you can't tell anyone until you have selected that person to be interviewed. Now, they may choose to publicly say, yeah, I'm going to see if I get the job, but you as board members really cannot confirm nor deny that an internal candidate is in the running. All right, that makes sense. The Data Practices Act is really important. The last thing I'll say about internal candidates is that communication is extremely important. We've seen relationships with internal candidates strengthened because of the process. We have also seen relationships with internal candidates damaged because of the process. You can't make promises you can't keep. So as a board, you really have to step back and take a look at what's best for the district if you're conducting a search. And you don't have to conduct a search. Sometimes an internal candidate is the best person and you just go ahead and sign the contract without conducting a search. But if you are truly going to do a solid, fair, equitable process, that internal candidate has to be treated the same as anyone from the outside. And that often revolves around communication and expectation. I will also say that external candidates do not appreciate it if they go to the trouble to apply for the job, because it's pretty laborious to apply for a superintendent job. And then if they are selected to be interviewed, their name is public. If after your interviews, it's a slam dunk for an internal candidate, you will have external candidates that kind of think they were used. And you need to be super careful. If you want to hire an internal candidate, and you know that the board majority is already with that, you want to rethink the search, because your external candidates, one, if they think that person has a lock on it, might not apply. And if it appears that you knew all along you wanted to hire that person, they could potentially feel used. That was a long answer, but internal and external candidates can be really dicey. So I think very, very carefully about that and what your next steps are going to be regarding that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Connie or Sandy, any questions? Well, thank you so much, Barb. Great presentation, and appreciate your time tonight. And again, sorry we were running a little bit late, but say hi to everybody down there.
Yeah, I will, and thank you so much. Yep, we'd be honored to help Jordan Public Schools with your superintendent search. If you have any other questions at all, please let me know. And again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, Barb.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, is Ken on?
Yep, right there.
Okay. Ken, welcome. We have Ken Dragseth with school, I can never remember the name, school exec search. So I will turn it over to you, Ken.
He's got to unmute himself.
Are you muted?
Just a second.
There we go. Hi, Ken.
You hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to speak to you tonight on our presentation. It's been fun the last week or so to kind of dig into your district and look at your website and a variety of things. I will have to say your website is one of the best websites that I have encountered in looking at websites for all this different work that we do. So whoever does that, congratulations to them for a lot of great work. So it's very informative, so it's really fun to know more about your district and all the great things you're doing. What I want to do tonight is just do quickly, I know you got a lot of your time restrictions and so on, but tell you a little bit about our company and then how we operate and so on. Our company has been in existence since 2004. We, as a company, have done over 400 searches. It started in Illinois, from 2015 to 2019, and Tony Johns were the owners of the company, and we were based out of Minnesota, and we sold the company back to Illinois because of some issues with Tony's health issues and so on of our family. So, but we are still actively involved in Minnesota. In fact, we have done over 65 searches in Minnesota. I have been involved in probably 50 of those. We've done the largest district in the state of Anoka a couple times. We've also done smaller districts like Onamia with 600 students. So we've done searches in all the different localities, probably mainly in kind of regional centers and suburbs that we work with. We are a national firm, and what we say with local connections. We tend to work all of the consultants that work in Minnesota. We know Minnesota, we work in Minnesota, and that's what we do. The two people that would work on the search if we were selected are myself and Dave Pleff, and I'm not going to go over my resume. You can see that in your proposals, but both of us have been active superintendents in the metro area. Dave was superintendent in Eastern Carver County before he went down to Illinois, so we know the area well. We just finished 2 searches in Eastern Carver County in Rockford, and we're now currently on a search in Watertown Mayor to be completed this summer. So a little bit about the process that we engage in, and the process that we use, and you have that in front of you. Obviously, all the search firms pretty much are the same. Actually, both of the other search firms in Minnesota follow pretty much the process that we established back in 2004, and that is that you set up a planning meeting, you put together all the information, how are you going to run the search, who are you going to talk to, what's the parameters, but the whole idea is to gather as much information as we can from the public through an online survey, a SurveyMonkey survey, and then also a number of focus groups. And we have done as many as 20 focus groups in districts, and we put all of that information together, and we ask basically what are the strengths and challenges of the districts, what are the goals that you want in the district, what are you looking for in a new superintendent, and then the other questions that you'd want the board to ask. So we put all that information together, and we would come back with probably a 25 to 30 page report to you. It's kind of like a shot in time for your district. It's very extensive, and from that we put together a profile of what you're looking for in the superintendent. And we're very adamant that each district is different. We are looking for a match for you. We are going out and recruiting people that would fit what you're looking for and can be successful in your district. After we do that, the profile, we do the recruiting. Our recruiting process is very extensive because we are a national firm. This is posted on our website, which goes nationally. We have, obviously the normal ways through MSBA and MASA and so on. But the biggest thing that we found out is that in order to find outstanding candidates, we recruit, and we go after good people that we know. And I've been in this state for almost 50 years and know a lot of people, and know a lot of principals, a lot of superintendents, a lot of district office people. And we look at trying to find some, then once we have the profile, how do we match up with them? How do we find those people? And that's been, I think, part of the quality of our the candidates that we're able to find. In most searches we find we simply don't have people apply and then we just take those who apply. We go out and actively search out someone and try to convince them to do that. And every district that we have done recently in the final pool, typically are 1 to 3 of those candidates that we recruited in the process. We go then to 2 levels of interviews, just like other search firms do. We do a first round of interviews where you narrow down your candidates to 2 to 3 finalists, Then on the finalist day, we would bring back those finalists for their all-day interviews by themselves, and you would do a similar tour of the district. You would meet with a variety of the focus groups that we met with when we did the profile, and we would have a community meeting for input from them, and then you would have a final board interview. But in all of those focus groups, we would have a feedback sheet given to them and ask them basically how they fit the profile and what other concerns or strengths and so on that they would see in this candidate. So again, that process is very similar to what that other districts, other firms do. We started with when we started the company. The question about we would obviously work very closely with the board, and we do the schedule that you have in front of you would be a fall interview and hiring process. And we would set that, the schedule is flexible, obviously, what you want to do, and also how you do the search. If there are certain things that you want, sometimes districts want presentations by the candidates, sometimes districts want to narrow it down in other different ways, want to be a part of the vetting process as a small group. Whatever the board feels like doing and wants to do, we would accommodate that based within legal limits. And we would determine that in the planning meeting. We are very concerned about community participation. We feel very strongly that the more the community is involved and the staff and the students, the better connections that person has than when they come into the district. We have recruited very strongly in Minnesota. We have a reputation among the people that are out there that they trust us, the candidates. We have placed many positions, women in positions. We placed the most people of color in positions of any firm in Minnesota by far. And we have also placed assistant superintendents, principals, and superintendents in positions. So it's kind of, our questions are basically to the board is what are you looking for and how do you match that up? I wanted just a couple things on the final process. We had put in the process that a fee of $13,900, and obviously we didn't do the interim search, so we would drop that to $11,900. I know that when it comes to fees, we're against a couple of companies that one doesn't charge anything and one charges a smaller amount based on the fact that you are part of a cooperative and you're part of MSBA. I understand that, and so they're all good firms. They all do good things. But I think what we would say as part of our strengths is basically that we know Minnesota. We have worked with every really good district in the state and a variety of districts. We know it very well. We know the people there. We have a strong success in Minnesota. We have 100% on time and on budget process. We have uniquely a 2-year guarantee, which says that if the superintendent were to leave within a 2-year period, we would come back and do that search for free. We've had 2 of those in Minnesota, one in Brainerd when a superintendent had to have family issues and moved into South Dakota, and another superintendent who decided that he also wanted to go another way in his career. And so he came in and did those searches for free, and those superintendents are doing well in those positions. We customize it. We want to work with you and all of that. We just know that we would not bring you any candidate that we wouldn't want to work with and trust. And I've worked with enough people that I don't want to work with, and you certainly don't. You want a good candidate, you've had good superintendents, and you want someone who would come in there and do a great job for you. So with that, I'm going to, if you have any questions and time I have left, I'd be glad to answer.
Okay, I'll open it up to questions for Ken.
So I got one question for you. So obviously you know your firm's strengths, you know the 2 competitors. in terms of the differences between the search firms in the type of candidates that are identified and the level of quality, can you share with us a little bit about what the differences might look like between the three search firms?
Yeah, that's a tough question because I certainly don't want to disparage another search firm and what they.
Oh no, tell us your
they've done.
strengths.
What
Absolutely.
I will say, yeah, all right, and what I would say is that we are free to recruit anybody. We are not stealing someone else's superintendent, number one, and we don't have those connections, and that's probably a little different. We are, and again, we've been involved in searches all over the state, and actually I've been involved in searches outside the state too, but so we understand, and we have a broader pool to draw from. That doesn't mean you won't find that great superintendent in any one of our search firms, but I do think that we do have a larger pool from that. So, and I know that, I know the people who work for both of those. I think they're great, good people. So we do have all our consultants are superintendents, have been superintendents, have had experience. They know what a good superintendent needs, qualifications and skills that they need. And so we go after those people, and we have that background. We have an understanding of what it takes to be successful in the superintendent's role in our recruiting.
Thank you.
Other questions for Ken?
Yeah, Ken, this is Ryan Dainert. It looks like you have conducted some searches for some of our larger neighbors as far as school districts. I'm just curious to get your insight into kind of the, what may be attractive or what we might have from an advantage standpoint over some of those larger districts.
Right. Yeah. I just said we just completed Rockford, which is similar in size to you, and we had really an outstanding pool. I mean, actually as strong a pool as we've had in any other searches. Jordan is in good position. You've had good leadership. You've got a strong board. You obviously not passing a referendum in 2019. Something you're going to have to work through. Superintendent coming in there is going to have to work with the board on that. But I looked at your program, and that's why, and I say when I go into your website and I start talking to people, even if we don't get the job, I want to know what we're coming into. And really good academic work being done, the student video talking about how they feel about being in your district, the positive facilities that you have and you look at. You do have a fund balance, that I looked at, and I looked at your financials. And the reason I do that is that we have to sell people on the district. And the good people need to say, well, why should I go there? Why should I leave a job that I have that I'm probably very successful at and move to another position? And what I see in your district is some really good things. They've got a lot of opportunities. Yes, you got challenges, finances now, and COVID-19 and all of that is going to change some things. But you've got to, I can sell it. I think it's a great district, and I think you're doing good stuff. And there are people out there, I think, that would love to step into a district like yours and work with you to make it even greater.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Other questions? Anybody? Okay, well, thank you very much, Ken, for your time.
You bet.
Sorry that we ran
thank
late.
you, and good luck in your decision. And, we would love to work with you, but we know that's a board decision, and we'll go from there. So have a great evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ken. Have a good evening. Okay, next we have consent agenda items. We have the minutes from May 7th, special meeting, May 11th, regular, May 26th, workshop, and special. We have the May financials. The donations that we have are from Kathy Weeks for the JHS Theater Department, $23.95. Tricia Dolan, JHS, $11. Mighty Cause, Jacqueline Westbrook Shaw, Food Shelf, $545. Tracy Skoglund, JHS Band Department, Snare Drums and Bells, an anonymous donation to Food Shelf of $35. Laura Wires, Food Shelf, $400. Nicholas and Megan Dolan, Food Shelf, $500. Jen St. John, no, the McClellan family food shelf, $40. Jen St. John food shelf, $50. Louise Lindquist food shelf, $400. Rosalind Olson food shelf, $200. Lori Schmidt, $50 to the food shelf. Rebecca Brewster, elementary school, $200. Bruce Lammers, music department, 2 trombones. Denise Weber, food services, $144.60. Let's see, we have resignations. Middle school special ed teacher Jen St. John, resignation. Elementary school paraprofessional Kaylee Schutrep, resignation. Elementary school paraprofessional Annie Shershen, resignation. Girls soccer coach Alicia Lafka, resignation. Community ed tutoring coordinator Dorothy Lewis. We have termination of probationary employee due to COVID-19 and implications related to the district's budget. We have the retirement of Kathy Dunham, the retirement of Joanne Westfall. We have new hire, middle school special ed teacher Rebecca Pauley. She comes in at BA Step 3. New hire, elementary school special ed teacher Max Hawkinson, BA Step 1. 2020-2022 Kids Company Early Adventures Supervisors and Group Leaders contract, the Nutrition Services Director contract, Community Ed and Recreation Director contract, Special Services Director contract. We have a new hire technology. These are all technology assistant interns at $10. Garrett Glockham, Abe Pass, and Blaze Roberts. We have the 2020-2022 Kids Company Coordinator contract and the 2020-2022 District Equity and Outreach Specialist contract. So I will entertain a motion to approve all of the consent items. Lauren, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Ryan. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley,
Yes.
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Sandy Burke,
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Rob Langheim,
Yes.
Ryan Dainert.
Yes.
Motion carries. On to action items. The first action item we have is to review and act on the interim superintendent's contract. I'll invite Ryan and Tom to chime in on this part of it. We're in negotiations with Renee over the last, week, I guess. We had good discussions and good compromise, I think, on both parts. We came in at a salary of $150,500, and then, her benefit package. So I will entertain a motion and then we can discuss.
So moved. This is Sandy.
Sandy, okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ryan, okay. Questions or discussion? You guys have anything you want to share? I'm really excited about it. I know that Renee has been in and met with Matt a couple of times, and I met with her last Friday. She actually signed the contract after we had gone back and forth with the negotiation piece. So I feel very comfortable with the contract that we have with her, and just very excited for her to be on board with us and to carry the mission forward. So if there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a roll call vote.
Deb Pauley,
Yes.
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Sandy Burke,
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Rob Langheim,
Yes.
Ryan Dainert.
Yes.
Motion carries. Review and act on the MDE identified official with authority resolution. You want to talk about that?
Yep, so you have to do a conversion from my name to Renee's name, obviously effective July 1st. I will continue to do that work as needed through June 30th.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion. Lauren, is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom, discussion? Okay, it's a resolution. Roll call vote, please.
Deb Pauley,
Yes.
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Sandy Burke,
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Rob Langheim,
Yes.
Ryan Dainert.
Yes.
Motion carries. 9.3, review and act on the approval of the superintendent's search firm. So I will open it up for discussion. We heard the 3 search firms give their presentations. We have their documentation. I think we should have a good board discussion about which direction we want to go with this time-wise. How comfortable we would be to make, I mean, if we're not comfortable making the decision tonight, we can postpone it definitely. Or we can act to move forward. That doesn't mean that we have to, start at a certain date, because obviously we would set the timeline with whoever the company is. But I think because it's fresh in our mind, we should have a good conversation about the 3 presentations. So I will open it up
Madam
to
Chair.
Tom.
I feel good about South Central Service Cooperative, and one of the reasons is the financial part of it. But I think, and they all kind of said the same thing, we're going to get good candidates. Like, people that know our district, are aware of our district, or the people that have put out feelers to the people that they think could help fill those shoes. They know what they're getting into, and I think people will come, and so I don't think we need to maybe aggressively go out and and try to find, like the last gentleman said, go out and aggressively find people and recruit them, because I think we're going to get good candidates for this process. So I don't think, quite frankly, we need to pay to have somebody go out and find them for us.
Okay. Other discussion, other comments?
I was involved with the process with that and using 12 seconds, and that process was so thorough, so organized. It was a really good process.
And that was South Central.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was just the expenses only.
Right.
Yeah.
Meaning the copying,
Yeah.
whatever that was, and then,
I thought all of them presented well. I think they can do a competent search. I do think that there would be varying reasons for why you would use each one, right? Different reasons for each one. I guess, given our situation and the fact that we've just approved a contract for an interim superintendent that's not a retiree, like we thought it was going to be going into it. I do have some pause in forging ahead in this process, full steam ahead now, versus making an assessment on that later in the fall. I definitely appreciated the input that Barb had on, running a sincere process. And I mean, there's definitely a balance between, I think you have to have, buy-in and engagement in the community, but at the same time, like, I can totally see that. Like, it could be an unfair process. And so I don't know. I just don't know if we are in a position to make the decision now, but I think it's hugely valuable to be able to do all 3 on the same night, right? And back to back to back. And that really helped me understand the strengths and weaknesses. And I do think, for instance, the School Exec Connect, I think that probably, their skill set is going out and recruiting nationwide, bringing somebody to a district. And clearly their track record of the districts they're filling for, they're filling for pretty big school districts.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts are kind of, number one, we're in a way better situation than we were a month ago, based on what we were thinking that we were going to have to do, both not only for the interim, but then also for the full-time search. So I think that affords us a little bit of opportunity that we didn't necessarily think that we were going to have. I think as it relates to the 3 firms, I agree with Ryan that all of them presented well. They obviously have tremendous experience in this. I really think that the price differential, that what we're talking about in terms of the magnitude of this decision, price, at least in my mind, is irrelevant. The prices are very nominal, and so I think it's, we want to be able to find who do we think is going to be the right team and the right process. And I think that the big differentiator, at least in my mind, is the ability to bring in really top caliber candidates. And I don't know if there's distinction between the 3, but I think, at least in my mind, that's going to be the piece that we're going to want to make sure that we're collectively feeling comfortable with whatever the firm ends up being, because I think that there's a couple of dynamics that are at play. One is, I think that it's going to be really important in terms of how these search firms look at us vis-a-vis other districts and other communities. And And to be honest, I want to be able to be a comparator of districts that are on the up and rising versus some that are maybe a little bit more kind of at the standstill. And I think that that's going to be important for the search firm to recognize that and know that. But I also want the search firm to make sure that they know some of the unique things that we have that are going to be really appealing for somebody who wants to move to Jordan and be able to come into the district. And so those are going to be the pieces that, at least in my mind, are going to be the characteristics of the winning firm. I don't think that we're necessarily, our backs are against the wall where we have to necessarily make a decision tonight, but we don't want to be complacent either.
Sandy or Connie, are you there? Do either of you have any comments or questions on the search firms?
I agree with Tom and Rob. I couldn't hear anything that Ryan said. But I do agree with Rob's one comment is comparing us to just a comparable district, and we want to be classified as us, not comparable to someone. There is something to be said to knowing the superintendents or knowing the administration in our communities and in Minnesota. And I guess I was pretty impressed with the first guy. And I was impressed with the last guy because the last guy really did research on us and wanted to know a lot about us. And he read our website. He knew, academic things that were going on, whatever. He invested time in us, and that's what I want, somebody to invest time in us to help us find the best. And so, but I don't know that if we have a choice of not paying as much, if we need to pay the money either. So I'm kind of torn, but I think any of the first two would be okay.
Just a couple thoughts I had. I thought Barb really did a great job of presenting. And I liked that she talked about how you handle if you have internal candidates. I thought whoever of you two or whoever asked that question, I thought that was very insightful and really good information for us to have. I did like when somebody asked about the timeline with Ed. And I guess I agree with him that if we move too soon, it might not be the best, but we don't want to wait because I honestly believe, and I think Matt will back me on this, that we're probably going to be seeing a lot of superintendents leaving because of the world that we're in. So I kind of liked Ed's idea of doing the research part of it and the qualities that we want moving into the fall, and then the end of December, 1st of January, really hit it up and get moving. So, and we could do that with any of the three, but
One difference that I noted, and I don't know if there's merit to this or not, but with Barb, I picked up on a lot about we will provide you with this and we will facilitate. I felt with the other two, it felt a little bit more like we're going to drive this process, right, mm-hmm. and carry you through it, and that just might be the nature of MSBA being, a supportive resource for school boards, but mm-hmm. in that conversation, I felt like we were running much more of the process. Mm-hmm. Don't know if there's just...
Yeah, and I've never worked with them on a superintendent search, so that's a good observation. I will say just, and Lauren and Sandy can chime in on this, but our experience when we worked with Ed to get this guy was they ran the show. They met individually with every board member, but I'm telling you, they really did the legwork, even with the community piece, and it was a very smooth, well-run operation.
Yeah, but you do bring up a good point. They were the driver of the operation, where you just called out that MSBA is going to be more of the help you and guide you. So it's.
Yeah, she made a comment about putting together a sell sheet for the position and providing it to you. which
Yeah.
struck me as different from what the others were saying, which was, I mean, the thing I wrote down from Ken was, he literally said, I can sell. Right? Like, it's different approaches.
Yeah. And I think that that's going to be something that we need. I mean, I think that but to Bart's point, the internal piece I think is going to be really important. And I think that we're in a little bit of a different, kind of spot in the sense of with Renee coming in. And I think that we have to balance two items really well. One is that we understand her expectations and what her long-term aspirations are, and we want to be able to give her a fair chance to be able to prove that and demonstrate that
Exactly.
throughout the year. So the timing of this, we need to make sure that we're sensitive there. We also have to be sensitive to the timing of getting really top caliber candidates, because we owe it to the process in the district in the sense of, for whatever reason, that doesn't necessarily work out. And so we have to make sure that we have a really strong process from that perspective too. And then, kind of at the end of it, see, kind of what ends up happening. But I think that balancing is going to be really important.
Key, I agree.
And I agree with what Tom's saying about we should be able to get great candidates, but I'm also in my mind thinking about a scenario in December where, for whatever reason, we decide that we need to do a full search, and that Renee is not the candidate for whatever reason, and I'm sitting there as a superintendent going, well, they failed a referendum. I know Matt Helgerson, he's great. He left. I know Renee from Anoka Hennepin, she left. What is going on? We got to be careful with that too. So I think we just need to proceed.
One thing that
Cautiously.
you'll find is, like Ed and MSBA, obviously, they have the pulse of every district in the state, so they know what's going on, pretty much. Ed really has a good pulse, I would say, of, his connections, and I'm sure the same with Ken. I worry a little bit more about Ken being maybe a little, that too big for our britches. I mean, more the whole national piece, that I worry a little bit about the local connection, for the good or bad.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
And I amend my my thoughts a month ago because of Renee. I thought we were going to get a retired superintendent and possibly somebody just to fill a seat and sign some papers for us, and it was going to put a lot more on the shoulders of the principals. So I wanted to move that process as fast as we could to get a permanent replacement. But when it is Renee and it's somebody who is an active looking to be a superintendent, I'm willing to slow that down a bit and start this process, maybe like, what was the first, Ed's suggestion, where maybe we start late fall, early December, something like that, get it posted and we get rolling in January. I mean, I think that would be totally fine, but I would like to move forward with this tonight unless someone's got a reason, like if they're going to do some background checking or something like that, like what's going to change, because we won't vote on this then until July.
Right.
And not that that's a back burner. I mean, we still have 5 months before we'd really get rolling on it, but I'd rather just put this search behind us if we can, unless someone's got a reason why we wouldn't vote on it tonight. If you're going to do background checks on them or
I guess I agree with that, because
check references or something.
South Central, they only do 3 to 4 years.
Oh, they do? That's interesting to know.
That's might be impetus for, if that's the one we would go with.
Yeah.
And is it first come, first serve, or is it,
Pretty
how do
much
they
so.
work?
Well, I mean, I guess my counter would be if we decide not to do a search and we go with, the $13,000 charge, right? That was a cash outlay at the beginning of that. Right? And I'm not saying that wouldn't be refundable if we didn't change our mind. Another thought crossed my mind with South Central, because it seems like, it's a cooperative that we're a member of, right? Their support, I don't know what they do. I need to learn more about that, but I'm assuming they're a resource for you as a superintendent. So,
And for actually our, like Amy, they do support for like all of
them.
Yep, so they're it's a collection of districts, member districts, that they provide technology services, they provide online course offerings, professional development. So our MASA Region 2 group meets at the South Central Service Cooperative which I went to those meetings more so than I did go to Region 9, which is more of the metro. I tended to go to Region 2 more often. It's a great organization. I mean, they're very well run, well connected. They provide business services support. There's an upcoming workshop with the Department of Ed that's hosted by the Service Cooperative in cooperation with MASA Region 2. They host that. So it's a wide range of services that they provide school districts.
So Matt, from your perspective, of the three, if we find ourselves in a competitive situation we want good candidates, and is there a difference, I guess, in your mind of who's going to be able to attract those individuals and bring them to us versus not? Or is it all kind of, they're all really good, and the candidates at the end of the day are probably going to be the candidates that you would expect?
You know, I've had several experiences with the Ed Waltman Service Cooperative model. It works. MSBA has come on since Ed, you know, so that they're a new player. They do search. I mean, you see them. I'm sure. I get this last year. I probably got 30 MSBA, 20, 30 MSBA search flyers. I liked what she said about the marketing piece. Here's my feeling. This district is going to sell itself. I mean, all you got to do is do a little bit of research and know that the facilities are in the top 10 in the state, top 20.
Check out the website.
The website's phenomenal.
Cat.
Cat?
Yep.
You gotta have a school
the
that backs up the
proximity,
website,
I mean,
right?
I think location, the proximity to Metro. When Tracy and I, I was in the running for another district, we chose Jordan because of potential. I still think there's tremendous potential. We had a little blip with the vote last fall, but we knocked it out of the park with distance learning. And I think that won't be forgotten by families. So I think that there will be support in the future, financial support. So I just think, you know, it doesn't matter who you choose, Jordan School District is going to sell itself.
I guess another question for either one of either Deb or Matt. Ken made the comment that he was free to recruit anyone. Is there any issue with the South Central Cooperative if, say, we think that the Waseca superintendent is a great fit? You know what I'm getting at?
Yep,
or if,
But she's locked up.
yeah,
because-
or if Mankato is recruiting Matt. Is he implied a conflict there? That seems to make sense on the surface to me.
I still don't think you're convincing anyone to leave their job.
No.
Like, I think I agree with Matt. I think the district, they might just say, hey, I don't know if you knew, but Jordan's looking
Right.
for a superintendent, and they know what's going on over here, you know? So I think, that, like Matt said, this district's going to sell itself, and they need to decide if they're leaving or not.
I guess to me,
I don't think you're gonna hard
a
sell
company
them.
like, say, if School Exec Connect would do that, would go out and actively recruit from somebody that wasn't planning on leaving their district, I wouldn't think very highly of that. I know that I had many a conversation with school board cohorts from across the state when their supers left, and that they were they were gonna reach out, and some of them did, and they were gonna steal Matt. That's different, but when the firm itself would do that, that one, to me, wouldn't be very ethical.
That would be pretty unprecedented. I don't know if there's anybody that, or a lot of people that do that. But what about, so Ed, how many emails have you gotten from School Exec Connect? Out of curiosity, Matt.
0.
Okay, all right. I got my answer.
And basically, they advertise in pretty much the same place. They all advertise MASA, MSBA,
Right.
and whatever. I mean, so, pretty much so.
I mean, so when I left Tri-City United, I told Ed, I mean, I knew he was running searches. I told Ed that I wanted to explore opportunities, in particular because Jordan and New Prague were open. I said I'd like to throw my name in. So that's what they do, is they have a pulse on who's interested in leaving, and then they try to match. the
So
candidates up.
was TCU a member of this cooperative?
Yeah.
They were.
But I had announced that I was
Yeah.
going to leave.
Right.
So. Not
But,
to leave. Not
but
to
as
leave.
an example, though, if there was a great up-and-comer from Chanhassen, as an example, would Ed know about that person?
I will tell you definitely, positively, yes, because do you know the three candidates, when we had to
Right.
choose, was Matt, Terry Preisler from TCU, who did a great job down there, and Gary Anger. Gary Anger was principal, elementary principal in Rosemont. And
Okay.
he ended up being the superintendent in Shakopee before he passed away.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Phenomenal. All three candidates were phenomenal. Obviously, we got the best. But we had,
And Terry was at Owatonna as a district level admin at
yeah.
the time.
So she was not a super either.
No.
Right. So two of the three candidates were up and comers that were not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, based on capability, based on track record, based on familiarity with the process,
And our
if we're
district.
deciding to go with Southwest, I'm very supportive of that.
So are you ready to make a motion tonight?
Does anyone have any comments?
Connie?
Anything?
I don't know if Sandy's on with us. She left, okay.
You're muted still,
You're muted, Connie.
Sorry, I think we sound like we're ready to make a decision. But one thing I have to tell you is the sound is terrible tonight because you all keep turning your heads
Sorry.
and you don't speak into the microphones. So it's very, very, very difficult to hear what you're saying. But I'm ready to make a motion if you're all ready to make a motion.
Okay, have at it.
Okay, I say let's hire Southwest
South Central?
or South Central, yes.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call?
Deb Pauley,
Yes.
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Rob Langheim,
Yes.
Ryan Dainert.
Yes.
And Hope, I'm on, I say yes.
Oh.
Sandy.
Sandy
Did you hear
Burke.
the
I just,
motion?
popped in quickly.
Sandy, did you hear the motion?
I did.
Okay. Did you have any input you wanted to give?
I did not. I agreed with what I heard Connie say.
Okay. Okay, motion carries. Okay. Review and act on the FY20 revised budget.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
do we want to get that contract signed with them in case they do have a limited number? Do we want to discuss a timeline on when we want to go? Do we want to go with kind of what he said and get it? I mean, that wasn't part of the motion, but, and not necessarily has to be, but
Right. Well, I think by the motion to go with them gives us the authority to move forward with the contract,
Yep.
and then I think we can work out the timeline,
okay.
soon,
Oh.
Yeah.
sooner than later. Are you all pretty much comfortable with the, proposal that Ed gave about doing the background legwork and finding qualities and characteristics into the late fall and then moving forward? Okay.
Yeah, I am, and I was going to bring this up before, but my mind keeps going back to our situation and whether we do a full search or not. And I do think that's a very good precursor. I think regardless of whether we do a full search, we should be leaning on them to do that precursor work, to do the community engagement, the survey, the qualities and characteristics, and then we can take a hard look at that versus what we've seen over several months, and at that point decide
Okay,
whether we're doing a full-blown search or what we're doing.
okay, okay. We did roll call, didn't we, Hope? Okay, motion carries. Anything more on that? Okay. budget. Now the fun stuff.
Okay, so at the May workshop meeting, I brought forward the revised budget and I didn't make any changes to it. We're just gonna go with it. So we need, so we're gonna eventually need a motion to approve the revised budget number 2 for fiscal year 2020. And in the attachments, you saw that attached is my adopted budget for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. So we can go through it if you want. So for Fund 1, I'm still going to estimate or project that we're going to overexpend by approximately $114,000. That the revenue is based on an enrollment of 1,846. The number is made up of of the K-12 students, 25 ECSE students, 13 tuition students. The reason why it's low, I only estimated 90 kindergarten students. And that's because the cohorts that I've talked to, it's just unknown. We don't have, I think at this time, we maybe only have 50 or 60 registered kindergarten students. And I would rather be more conservative. I don't want to overestimate. And I'm hoping and praying that we're going to get 120. And if we do, that's all the better for us because that's, Matt and I did the projection, it was like over $100,000 more in revenue. So that will make or break that's going to make or break the budget at this point. The federal dollars I'm estimating are going to be about the same as last year. The local sources dropped in the revised budget from the revised budget, and that's because we brought in that Fund 9 into Fund 1, and that was extra revenue for the revised budget that's not there in the adopted budget in Fund 1. Capital expenditures, you'll know in the expenditure budget we only projected to do what was really necessary in case we end up using some of the LTFM dollars to help cover some of the deficit spending, which we still can do. And we can do that until the end of next year, I believe. And as of today, this adopted budget will be in a revised budget by tomorrow because the CARES funding came out. And I sat in on a webinar for that today, and so there's going to be more information coming out on that. Fund 2 for the adopted budget. Oh, sorry. We have to go to student activities first. So student activities is next. That's in conjunction with Fund 1. MDE looks at our student activity account as part of our general fund. So that's going to be healthy. I'm projecting to have about a $232,000 fund balance in that. Food service. Right now, everything in food service and community ed is a guess. We don't know what's happening for next year. So again, I've consulted with some of our neighboring districts, and they're pretty much, until we know more information, we're going to kind of do what was on the books last year. And, I did bring it down. I did bring the revenue down a little bit, but I also brought the expenses down. I know Andrea has been listening to multiple webinars of how next year is going to look, if it's going to be in the classroom, if it's going to be bag lunches, and she was actually emailing me today about that as well. So for right now with the adopted budget, I'm going to predict an ending fund balance of a negative $19,000.
Amy, from a percentage perspective, how many people were participating in the bag lunches at the end of the year, like from a total percentage of the student enrollment that we have?
About, I'd say the average, I didn't figure it out, but if I were to ballpark guess, I'd say probably 1,000 to 1,100 kids a day. So
Yeah.
you take that divided by, let's just use it by 1,900. %60.
65%, 60%.
60%.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And for community education, I'm hoping that we're going to be open, so I'm going to bring the revenue up a little bit. and also bring the expenses down because we might not need as many staff if we don't have as many camps or if the circ isn't being able to open. I know I've told Steven Jensen multiple times, let's trim that budget. And so we are trying. So, but and a lot is going to change once we know what school's doing and once the circ is able to reopen. Things are kind of starting to look up. The debt service fund, that remains healthy. We have enough, it's there to pay our debts, and that's what that's used for. The dental insurance fund, I'm predicting to have a healthy $39,000 fund balance at the end of 2021. Our dental insurance is pretty stable. Our claims are not very high, and that's been going really well for us to be self-insured like that. And the construction fund, I'm thinking we're probably just going to continue to spend that down. Right now, we use that to pay our property tax on the farm and also some other environmental work that was out there. And as far as the CARES funding goes, so our CARES funding, it's going to come in 3 different pockets of money, which can be used for different things. It's going to be about $129,000. And I haven't heard of any funding recoup for the community ed or the food service program. Any questions?
So just a comment, Amy, you alluded to it. If we go back to what we originally projected, 130 kindergartners compared to the 90 that we've got in the model right now, I mean, it's 40 kids times 6,500. I mean, that's substantial money. So when we cut $750,000, we expected things to turn around and go the other way in terms of having a surplus. Well, that's why they're not, in case you were wondering.
And if we would get 120 kindergartners, we would not be overexpending with this particular budget if things keep looking up.
Question on that. So there's 2 reasons in my mind why we would have low kindergarten enrollment right now. The first is that it's just been hard to get to events. We haven't been able to have the events in the same way that we have. And the second is that people are just reluctant to send their kids, right? So, I can see where the scenario where it turns out everybody registers the week before school starts and you have 120 kindergartners. That doesn't help us that much. But I guess my concern is if half of those kindergarten registrants are because people aren't sending any of their kids, right? Like that's a huge problem. And I don't know how we know that, but you understand what I'm getting at? Like, you might have 3 kids. The kindergartners are the one we watch because it's new registration. The rest of them we basically assume are re-enrolling in the fall, right? When we model.
I think, and I don't want to get into this because I think there's going to be a lot of things that change next 2 months, but my personal feeling is the district should commit to having our pre-K 6 kids here every single day. Whatever that takes to do that, that's my personal feeling. Because I think families have the most difficult time, just with that piece of it and helping their kids with homework at that age. I know there's complications at a 7-12 level as well, and obviously things need to look different than what they did this last spring in terms of a distance learning model, but I do think it's important to try to commit to having youngest kids here every day. It's my feeling.
Yeah. I mean, to some degree, I think we got to try to figure out a way to get the majority of kids here every day. I mean, the thing that's really interesting in my mind is the number of studies that are starting to come out, or even like newspaper articles that are sharing kind of anecdotal stories of what's happening across the country. But now as some of these studies are happening in terms of just performance expectations, mental health, connectivity, in terms of just, for a lot of these kids, you get to a certain age and your identity is with your peers, and some of that stuff is being disrupted right now. And it's a big difference if this is something that's temporary and we have to overcome it, versus is this truly the new normal and how do we sustain? But to your point, Matt, I mean, there's just so much ambiguity right now It's just, it's not that we're going to be able to come up with a absolute precise answer, but whatever decision that we can make with as much data as we can, kind of draw from, I think that that's going to be the mission over the next couple of months.
We've developed 4 different plans. I actually think it's not going to be one plan. I think it's going to be a combination of all 4 plans. But again, it's just way too early. You're going to have a new superintendent. They're going to have their own ideas. She's going to have her own ideas. But I can tell you right now, the team is doing the research, led by Erin, who is just very research driven. She's looking at all those data points. They had great discussions with their teaching staff members last week, which is why we ended early, is we wanted to make sure that we had that input from staff. So I think the district is ahead of the game in regard to working with staff, because I think staff saw sort of like that worst case scenario planning and the best case scenario, which would be kids back in school last week. So they aren't going to hear this for the first time, and that may sound like, oh my gosh, you didn't realize that could be. That's not in the scope of a teacher's. I mean, they don't look at those types of things. They're teaching kids. That's their focus. That's their lens. So I think by introducing, the variety of different scenarios, you've kind of dropped the bomb already in June, so that there isn't going to be this shock. And I think there's some value to that. So I'm very confident the district is going to handle this, just like we did with distance learning, in my opinion, better than everybody else.
To Ryan's point, though, do you think that a good measure of that would be, did we actually lose any kids? I mean, I know through the last 2 months.
I'd say a handful, and I do think that every district is going to experience that, which is why, one of the scenarios includes some options to hopefully capture. And like I said, to me, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 of those pieces, maybe all 4 are used during any given time. I think it'd be irresponsible for a district, especially a district our size that can really maneuver quickly, to not develop an online model for educating kids. Like a true online model, not a distance learning model, a true online model. And I think one thing that some parents are going to look at is say, well, I want my kids to participate in activities in Jordan. To your point, Rob, that connectivity piece. Well, if parents choose an online option that's not Jordan Public Schools sponsored, they're not allowed to participate in district activities. And I think that's a real potential selling point, a marketing point that I know is already in the works. And the leadership team is meeting this week. I believe Renee is going to come down and be a part of that meeting as well. So I'm really confident. I think parents are going to get scared, but I think in the long run they're going to choose our district in whatever form that is. You're going to lose some. There's no doubt about that. And I think kindergarten, I think, is an anomaly in the sense that you're just starting your child out in formal education. So if you can hold them back a year, no big deal. Mm-hmm. If they're a first or second or third grader, you're probably not going to stop their education no matter what it looks like. You might look at a different form, which is why I think the district needs to be strong in their approach.
And out of curiosity, is there a scenario where private schools might be able to play by different rules than public schools?
Where they might be able to what?
Play by different rules, in the sense of what a physical classroom environment could look like, or kind of as yeah, exactly.
I think that's a real possibility, Rob.
Okay.
Because MDE, those privates aren't getting state funding, so in that sense, I don't know if I guess I don't know where the jurisdiction lies in terms of closing down schools. My sense is that if it was a full school closure, they would have to play by the same rules. There would be just, I don't know, but I think that's a real good question. Something to really keep an eye on.
But non-public schools are entitled to the CARES funding too, though. So off of that 129,000, St. John's will get some of that. It's all based on Title I. and the calculation that goes into that.
Huh.
And what is that funding? You mentioned that there were three
There's
phases.
3 pockets. So the first one is called I think it's the gear money, and that's it's going to be for technology and summer school program. The next one it's the ESSER. It's called the ESSER, and that's just, you can basically use it for anything. And then there's another one that's part of the ESSER, and that's 9.5%, and that's grant dollars. So not everyone got a piece of that. We got a small portion.
Do you have to spend the money after you receive it? If that makes sense, like we talked about buying Chromebooks already for K2. Can that money?
We can use it for that.
Okay.
And so it's a basis where you spend it and then you get reimbursed for it.
Okay.
And the applications are coming out before June 30th. So there's an application process, a budget process, and some other things.
And that's another thing that sets the district apart. After that purchase is complete, we're one of few districts in the state that has K-12 devices.
Other comments or questions? Good discussion. Okay, this is an action item.
Yep, so you need 2 resolutions. One, one to approve the second budget revision, and then one to approve the 2021 adopted budget.
Okay, so first I'll entertain a motion to approve the fiscal 1920 revised budget number 2.
Yes.
Lauren, is there a second?
Second.
Rob, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley,
Yes?
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Sandy Burke. I believe she's gone.
Nope, Sandy's back.
Sandy's there.
Well, she didn't log off,
Oh,
but she left. She
got it.
messaged
Oh,
me.
okay.
Thought I'd say her name this time.
Yep.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Rob Langheim.
Yes.
Ryan Daner.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to approve the FY 2021 adopted budget that was just presented.
So moved.
Ryan, is there a second?
Second.
Tom, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley,
Yes?
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Rob Langheim.
Yes.
Ryan Daner.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, 9.6, review and act on the, thank you, Amy. Review and act on the tenure of non-tenured teachers. And the list is in front of you.
Yep, so
So,
a little bit different rules this year. On a normal year, because they wouldn't have served enough days they wouldn't have received tenure, but because of the forgiveness or the provisions provided under the COVID-19 legislation, everybody in their tenure year they recognized as fulfilling the requirements, if that makes sense. So if you've served and you've achieved tenure in another public school district, and then you come to Jordan and you successfully complete 1 year with your 3 different observations from a school administrator, then you're put forth as tenure granted, then that's how that works. Otherwise, if you're a brand new staff member, or if you hadn't achieved tenure in another district, you'd need to serve 3 consecutive years, and after that 3rd consecutive year, you have tenure.
okay. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Rob, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Connie, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley.
Yes?
Tom Vogel,
Yes.
Connie Hennon,
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen,
Yes.
Rob Langheim,
Yes.
Ryan Daner.
Yes.
Motion carries. 9.7, review and act on the 2020-2021 property casual and work comp insurance. Amy?
So I think I just attached the premium comparison. And so this year we just had our local agent from Choice Insurance go out for bids on his insurance companies that he could. And instead of everything going on, we just didn't go to another company. But he actually got some really good quotes. We're going to stay with, I would like us to just stay with EMC coverage for our liability and then RAS for our workman's comp. Actually, our work comp insurance went down by $11,084, and that's because our mod went down from 1.28 to 1.03. However, the district's liability insurance went up. We had a claim on there, and Dale had just mentioned that insurance overall has gone up. So overall for the year, our premium is projected to be about $1,472 less than last fiscal year, and that's including our liability insurance and our work comp insurance.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve for our workers' comp insurance
RAS,
and for our property casualty.
EMC.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ryan, okay, questions or discussion?
I think we should be happy being flat right now.
Yeah.
There is a lot of COVID makeup going on in the insurance
Yes.
world. We may not be so lucky next year.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do we have any pandemic coverage?
I did actually ask our insurance agent that, and yes, if someone would contract it here, it would be covered under work comp. And both EMC and RAS I'm getting emails all the time on updates, and I'm actually going to do a webinar with them, I think on this week on the 11th, about, reopening and things that we need to do and things that we need to look for, and they're both just really helpful companies as well with everything. And Dale also asked about, how Katie does with the work comp and stuff, and she really likes him too. We have the nurses hotline, and it's just working really well.
Good. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more questions or discussion? Roll call?
Deb Pauley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Connie Hennon.
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen.
Yes.
Rob Langheim.
Yes.
Ryan Danner.
Yes.
Motion carries. 9.8, review and act on the resolution approving Southwest Metro Safe School Program.
So this is done annually. Southwest Metro intermediate districts as a whole, not just Southwest Metro, are not able to access safe schools and long-term facility maintenance dollars, or even lease levy authority for that matter, on their own because they don't have a tax base. So the way it works is they go out to member districts, and we're part of 10 member districts, 10 core member districts, plus 4 associate members, actually 5 associate members. And they ask school boards to consider approving LTFM and Safe Schools funding the district's portion based off of usage and pupil units. So you can see in the summary from Amy that Jordan's portion is $15,286.85 for LTFM and $11,434 for Safe Schools. And that's not much different than past years, so would recommend approval of that so our intermediate partner can continue to maintain their facilities and keep students safe.
Yeah, and I think if we didn't levy dollars, they would bill our district with the invoices. The dollar amounts that they're going to spend would be in the invoices that they invoice us every year, so.
Okay, good. Okay, looking for a motion?
So moved.
Rob, is there a second?
I'll second.
Connie, discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Deb Pauley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Connie Hennon.
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen.
Yes.
Rob Langheim.
Yes.
Ryan Danner.
Yes.
Motion carries. 9.9, review and act on the resolution approving Southwest Metro's long-term facility maintenance program budget.
Which I lumped the Safe Schools and long-term facility maintenance together.
Anything on this? or just-
No further.
Motion to
Nothing
approve.
further.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Lauren. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Connie Hennon.
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen.
Yes.
Rob Langheim.
Yes.
Ryan Daner.
Motion
Yes.
carries. On to reports. Superintendent's report.
Okay, before I start, I know it's really warm. I don't have to read it, so I can just take any questions that you might have. I'm not sure I want to read it, to be honest with you.
Any comments or questions? Okay.
You know what? I'm going to read the wrap-up if that's okay, or just because I think it's important for the public, and I'll do my best. I think I can do it. So, this has been unlike any school year I think any of us have ever experienced, and we made it. So, the end of the 1920 school year was not normal, and I believe our district, and I think this is important for the public to hear if you're watching on YouTube or are going to watch it, performed admirably during this distance learning period. I'd like to thank all of our hardworking employees for their dedication to our students and families. Many went above and beyond by delivering meals, supplies, goodie bags, and graduate signs. Many staff put their own health on the line to care for children of emergency and essential workers and to make sure that the children were healthy enough to be here. Our custodians arrived each day to keep our buildings thoroughly cleaned. Many other staff came to work every day to prepare thousands of meals for children throughout the district. Teaching staff and paraprofessionals changed how they deliver education to students literally within 1 week. I mean, you think about that. That's amazing. And became creative with how they work to reach kids. Our leaders and support staff showed up each day with a can-do attitude and provided critical leadership and support to ensure that we transition smoothly to a distance learning model. I could continue to go on and on about the pride that I feel for our district and employees, but I won't. Prior to COVID-19 and distance learning, our district had once again another successful year in my mind. Our athletic programs experienced more success in state tournament appearances. Our boys basketball team won the state tournament this year. I declared that. Our fine arts programming continued to entertain and shine, and our innovative academic programming provided growth opportunities for students in all grade levels. It's important to note once again, and this is where I think, and this is my last soapbox for the community, once again, that all of this positive work, and I just want people to really understand it, this work occurred despite having the lowest operating levy in the state. There's no voter-approved levy in place, and having budget concerns. The district was forced to reduce spending by $750,000, and unfortunately will be faced with difficult decisions for the foreseeable future unless a voter-approved local operating levy can be secured. It's just not possible to maintain the high level of programming and service our families have grown to appreciate over the past 7 years without additional local voter-approved funds. With a state average of around $1,500 per pupil unit and Jordan's board-approved levy of $724 per pupil unit, the amount that all Minnesota districts are eligible to receive without voter approval, it is clear to see the disparity that exists between our district and the state average. Yet, despite that disparity, I can tell you without a doubt that our district was one of the highest performing in the state during the distance learning period. I sat in on every state call, and I know this to be true. The questions that were asked, I literally would say to myself, we're doing that, we already did it, we've already got that planned, when others were floundering. We have a lot to be proud of, and I'm very grateful to our employees for their effort during this incredibly challenging time. The reason why Jordan is successful despite this lack of appropriate funding is due to the fact that our many dedicated, hardworking employees who just won't accept mediocrity. I hope that this is recognized in a community and is celebrated and appreciated. And this part, I don't know. I'll try. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve the community and our students. I'm thankful to have moments, events, and conversations that have helped me grow as a person and a leader. I'm appreciative of this community for passing the bond referendum that led to the remodeling of this middle school and the construction of the CERC. That vote changed the trajectory of education and recreation in our community forever. I'll be forever grateful to my friend and community icon, this has been such a part of me. It's forgive me, it's difficult. Mr. Ames and the Ames family for the once in a lifetime gift. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So thank you, Dick. In the form of that turf field and the concession stand and ticket booth, to be part of something that generous and momentous in a community the size of Jordan is something that's just so special. I'm so appreciative of that opportunity, and they gave it to us. I'm also appreciative of the wonderful leaders that I've been able to hire and work beside during my tenure, the growth in diverse elective programming, creation of our Summit Academy, which you as board members pushed, and I'm so glad you did, our one-to-one device program, and innovative creative academic programming such as the first grade Foresters program that has been such a joy to witness. I'm most proud of the innovative practices we've developed, such as the staggered start to the school year, which includes our kickstart to kindergarten, the freshman focus. Again, these weren't me, these were our leadership team members who worked with their staff and just went for it. And I'm proud to have been the leader that gave them permission. And I'm proud of you as a board for agreeing to that. The Jump Start, our web, one of the biggest knocks when I first came here was we weren't transitioning kids. We were doing a terrible job. And now I'd say it's one of the best in the state. I mean, we're transitioning kids to a new building at kindergarten, at 5th grade, and at freshman year, and that's something to be really proud of. And to me, continue to improve that, but it's really just a wonderful thing to have in this community. These programs have all been developed over the past 7 years. They have provided excellent transitions for our students arriving in their first year in a new building. I'd like to share a special message of thanks to 3 groups in particular: my colleagues and support system in the district office, they're some of the best. And we have 3 of them here right now. They truly care about students, families, and employees of the district. They do their jobs well every single day. I can attest to that. They're dedicated. They're talented. They work to provide stability for the district and guidance on other district affairs. They are the best. Thank you to our leadership, my leadership team, my cabinet. This group of leaders was always willing to drop whatever they're doing, no matter what, and deliver to this community. This is just one example, but I actually had fun this day. It was stressful, but I'll never forget that Sunday in March of 2020 when they gave up their weekend eagerly. I mean, it was almost like, all right, let's go. And they jumped into a stressful period of planning and decision making and developed a distance learning model that was equitable, inclusive, and fit our community. That's all our citizens can ask for, all our parents can ask for. And I just want people to know what dedicated people we have here. Like I said, this is just one of the examples of the selflessness I saw displayed by the leaders of ISD717 over the past 7 years. Finally, I'd like to thank you, our school board, and all the members who in past have served as well during my time here. Thank you for hiring me in the spring of 2013 and for trusting and guiding the decisions which have built our district in one that is looked upon favorably, not only in this community, but in the region and our state. Your dedicated work for kids has been done out of pure love and devotion to a great cause.
being a board member, I wouldn't want to do it. I will never do it. But being a board member in a public...
Never say
Never. Being a board member in a public school district is not glamorous or lucrative. You haven't taken a raise the entire 7 years. It's one of the lowest around. You've all served for the right reasons. You ask great questions. There's no personal agendas. And I'll be forever grateful for your support. And I look forward to watching. And you can believe me, when I hear somebody disparaging, I'm going to correct them. Because they don't know. They don't know what it takes to be successful. And the board members, the leaders, the district office team, our staff that have bought in, and there's been many that have, they understand it. And they understand the sacrifices needed to make a small school district look bigger than what it is. So, thank you. It's been a great run. I did my best.
You did great. And on that note, okay. Principal's report.
Jeff, do you have anything you want to chime in?
Well, that's a tough one to follow, Deb, but speaking for myself and Joe Perkel and Steven Jensen and Melissa Barnett and Ben Bakeberg and Chad Williams, we're all at the Bakeberg's house. We're just asking for you to move to get the agenda done so Matt can come over to Ben's house here and we can celebrate Matt. So all of our board reports are written. If you have any questions, we're happy to take them, but otherwise we would love to just see Matt in a few minutes here.
Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
I'm local, so I got nominated for that job.
Why is this?
Yeah.
Just nice job on commencement, Jeff, and on the video and stuff. Great job for our graduates. Anything on any other reports, anybody? I think we're all good.
The only adjustment to 10-7, I know Stephen, the CERC just sent out just before we started our meeting that the CERC will open on the 15th.
Okay.
And there'll be more details. There's an email to follow, but that would be an update to his report.
Good. And we got a email from Joe this afternoon about stuff opening up.
So how are we going to handle that with the resumption of revenue, which I'm sure we're all very excited about? In the middle of the month, have we navigated that? No?
They'll handle it, right?
Yep.
They'll handle it. Okay. Board reports, health and safety meeting. Who attended that? I don't even know who's on health and safety. Booster Club?
We're rocking and rolling.
Things going good? Okay, negotiations. Tom, Ryan, you want to handle that one? We knocked a bunch of them out of
we've
the
been
park
fairly
this
busy.
last week, and we have 284 yet, and the principals. So. Joint powers.
I mean, at the time, he had no idea with Joint Powers when he would open and what he was going to do. He had some ideas of doing some summer programming, and now he's able to, in his report, you see, he was able to firm up a lot of his stuff, so.
Okay, good. Graduation, we already hit on that, so anybody else, any board members have anything they want to say or report on? Sandy? Connie? I don't think Sandy's there anymore. Okay? Tom?
Move to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Second.
Yes.
Second.
Roll
Deb
call.
Colley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Connie Hennon.
Yes.
Lauren Pedersen.
Yes.
Rob Langheim.
Yes.
Ryan Daner.